you know what's on the other side is you end up getting followers of people that are actually aligned with your vision and your values, and it's awesome. And things do grow again, but there's a bit of like a purging season.
There's always a turning point, the moment that tries to break you, but ends up launching your destiny. This is Miracle Moment. I'm Ray Ireland, and I'm here to help you rise into the mission God created you for. Let's jump in.
Have you ever wondered how important the algorithm actually is? Like, you might hear people talking about Instagram algorithms or this or that, and trends and hitting these certain goals. How important is it really? I'm going to break that down for you in this episode because there's some things that are very important and you got to have your eyes on. Otherwise, you might just be doing a really expensive hobby, expensive with your time and money if you're spending time on social media sharing and not getting anywhere. But also, there might be things that you're actually looking at inside of the algorithms and stuff that really don't matter. And we want to shift your gears onto truly what matters. So let's dive in. Today, I want to talk about aligning authority without going into all of the algorithms, because let's be real, sometimes the algorithms are going to go up and they're going to go down. And a lot of times, if your ego is attached to the algorithm, you're going to be missing out on what God has for you. Leadership and sharing your story and being visible and owning that authority that God gave to you goes so far beyond algorithmic success. And so I just want to break this down because as someone who is actually very in the algorithms, watching the trends, looking at what's happening, what's not working anymore, switching strategies, I do this not only for my own brand and, truth be told, mostly for other people's brands. And so there's something that I get to see when there is an influencer or an entrepreneur who is going through this journey, this process of refinement. So that's what I want to talk about today is what do you need to do to be able to master your influence beyond the algorithms so that way you can become that powerful leader that God has created you to be. So I want to share a little bit about my journey of just like embracing this authentic leadership journey, prioritizing alignment over algorithmic success. And as I did that, things started to shift and change. Now, a few years ago, I really decided I want to bring my faith into everything that I'm sharing. Before I would talk about God and this and that, but I didn't really talk about Jesus. And I felt nervous. I felt like if I start sharing and going more deep into this, then people are going to leave me. And okay, hot thing happened here. People left. And I had to deal with that. I had to be okay with not having this steady growth that I had before and be okay with things actually shifting and changing. Now, I got to say, like, I had to repent, to go through a journey of realizing, wow, I actually wasn't speaking in my fullest truth. And I was sort of like leaving things out. And I didn't actually like how that was settling in my spirit. So I had to go through a repentance journey with that. And so it felt really interesting when things started falling off. Instead of it being like a lack of success, it actually felt like, oh my goodness, I'm actually speaking up and sharing my truth for the first time, and this feels right. And I'm not just sharing a part of my truth, I'm sharing my whole truth. This happened, I took my book down, my international bestselling book. I shifted a lot of things. I stopped doing my own podcast, and there was a lot of external validation that I started missing out on. And I gotta say, it was tough and it was challenging, and I had to look at myself in the mirror, and that's really where God started to build me. Instead of the world building up Ray Ireland and who I was becoming, I actually gave myself over to God and said, hey, God, you build this then, because this is not looking good. And I actually had one of my mentors, Brooke Thomas. I remember she said this when Charlie Kirk got killed last year. She said, I just stood so firmly and I started, sharing. I shared some stuff. And she said a lot of people in her community were feeling this way where that was like one of the first things that they started talking about, bringing their faith, publicly into social media, and a lot of people were losing followers. Now, I had just gone through this a few years prior, so I related to them. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. But then you know what? you know what's on the other side is you end up getting followers of people that are actually aligned with your vision and your values, and it's awesome. And things do grow again, but there's a bit of like a purging season. But I thought there was something so cool that Brooke said that one day. She said, I've just gained more people. I didn't lose anyone. And she reflected on it because sort of with all of us. And she goes, I think it's because I never switched my messaging. And she said, I just stayed, and I just stayed consistent. And what that gave to me was a vision for what life could look, business could look like, influence could look like 5, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line. And it's something that I think goes unnoticed, which is you got to stay consistent with your message. And if you start building out a message that isn't your full truth, at a certain point, you're going to gain the confidence. You're going to gain that God authority and the Godfidence, right? And you're at a certain point, you will start saying, I need to share all of it. And I just want to prevent anyone that's in my sphere, in my little bubble here, from having to go through what actually me and so many other women went through, which was that purging season. It's always needed and necessary when it comes, but maybe there's a way to not have it come as intensely. And that is by being on top of speaking your whole truth. That might mean laying down the algorithms and the success from the very beginning to not go right on that hot topic, but to actually just be strong and consistent. It reminds me of sort of like an oak tree that has been standing strong and consistent for so long, commanding respect, not because it just like sways with the wind here and there, but actually because its roots are so deeply planted, it is so aligned with who it is that it's actually unmovable. And that's, I think, what we can do as leaders is become unmovable, unshakable in what we're sharing. I want to make sure that when I'm saying something, I would be able to say that to the faces of everyone,
If you're loving this conversation and it's sparking something inside of you, maybe it's time to share your own voice with the world. That's exactly why we created the Podcast Accelerator, to help leaders like you go from hidden to heard with a podcast that connects, inspires, and actually grows your business. We launched together in just a few months, and you'll have the system, support, and strategy to keep scaling and growing. Doors are open now, so the link to apply is in the show notes. We cannot wait to see you in there.
Sometimes some of our clients are like, there's only 200 people on here, or there's only 500 people. And I'm like, when was the last time you were actually in a room with 200 or 500 people and everyone was looking at you and listening? They're quiet and listening. And it's like, that doesn't happen. So let's just love the people that come into our world, but be that steady source of influence instead of being this like backboneless, blow in the wind type of leader. So I just want you to imagine, what could it be like? What would you experience if you were to be that kind of leader? Grounded in your core values, not chasing like fleeting trends. As I say this, there might be something that comes up in you that's like, oh, I actually am a little bit off right here, or I'm not telling the full truth right here. And it doesn't mean you're lying. It's just that you're not sharing the fullness of the mission or the message or the story. So I just want you to imagine, what would it be like? Would there have to be a little bit of a cleanup, or would you just be able to walk seamlessly into the next day like nothing ever happened? Now, if you do have cleanup that you're noticing just while I'm talking and sharing this, clean it up now. Don't wait a month or a year or 5 or 10 years down the line. Do you realize how much bigger that mess is going to be? And I'm not saying you're going to end up lying more and more and become this demon possessed whatever. No, not at all. I'm just saying that all of the little pieces are going to start adding up, and that mess will be bigger. People are looking for these types of leaders too. Today, people are craving and wanting someone that is so strongly convicted in their truth, because so many people are value hopping and switching values around and like, this is my top value, now that, and okay, now I saw this Instagram campaign, so now I'm thinking this, right? And you're just swayed, and there is no source of truth. So if you are someone that has a source of truth, be in that and then share from that space. There's going to be so many opportunities that get to come that are in alignment, so many people that are in alignment. And that's one of the most valuable resources we could ever have, our relationships. But again, how could our relationships really know who we are if in the public eye we're only sharing some things? So what it takes to create this is, there's one key thing that I haven't brought up yet, and it's safety. You need to actually create safety for yourself outside of algorithmic validation, because a lot of times people find safety in the way that others say yes or the way that others agree with them. And this happens on social media often. All of those likes, all of those hearts, all of that is basically someone saying, yes, like, I agree, I like that. But the thing is that you can't always be liked. And if you're only making content and only sharing content that's just likable, you're sort of missing out on the core thing. Now, I'm going to throw something in here, which is, once you actually dial in your core messaging and what the core values that you are unshakable like an oak tree, then nothing will sway you and you will be able to grow more rapidly than ever before. I'm experiencing it now. I'm watching this between our clients as well. It is amazing. So here's the 5 things I want you to do just to boil this all down. Distill your core beliefs. Take time to just reflect, write down what you truly stand for. These are just the principles that should guide you through your leadership journey. Number 2, audit your current alignment. So evaluate how your current actions and strategies align with your core beliefs. So identify if there might be some discrepancies or things that you need to clean up. Just adjust them accordingly as of now. God gives us eyes to see, ears to hear. Pray for that, ask for that, and you might start to see things differently as well. Number 3, set boundaries against trends. So establish what are your clear boundaries to prevent from being swayed this way and that way with every trend or seasonal change or cultural, shift. We want to just make sure that you're focused on long-term goals that resonate with your values long-term. Let's go backwards. Let's do what we've said so far, the first 3. Distill your core beliefs, audit your current alignment, set boundaries. Now, number 4 is going to be build a support system. Surround yourself with mentors and peers who are there to share and honor and respect your core values. This is going to help you just really create accountability and encouragement. Because like I said, when you sometimes, get into more alignment, you might have this season of pruning that happens, and that can be rough. So you need your encouragers to be right there with you saying, go, 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 until you get into that next season of really multiplying the impact and visibility. Now, the last one we have, number 5 is going to be implement consistent reflection. So if you're doing all of these and you're regularly setting time aside to just reassess your alignment, make any adjustments that you need, stay true to your authentic leadership path, then you're going to be good to go. We can't set it and forget it. It's not that kind of thing. But if you are showing up and you're having these little assessments, you're going to be able to always be in your highest alignment and highest value as well. Because when you are speaking your full truth, that's where you're going to actually be the most valuable for the right person on the other side. So just take 5 minutes today, write down one core belief that you want to embody as a leader this week. Use this clarity to just guide your steps. It might end up guiding some decisions that come up in this next week, big or small. No matter what it is, just really anchor in to that one core belief this week and see what happens. Because sometimes when people do this, they can get lost a little bit, right? And well, is it this one? Is it that one? Just choose one and try it on. You can always choose a different one next week. And while many people do get lost in the trends, you're going to be set aside. You're going to be experiencing something different. So what I want to go into on the next episode is exploring how to grow your audience sustainably without burnout. So I'm going to reveal some of these hidden barriers that most leaders face and how you can break through them around creating sustainable impact, because this is where we full circle it. Once you are aligned in your mission and your message and it's clear and you're not going based off the numbers, then we can actually take a look at the numbers and we can start playing. So I will see you guys all in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Miracle Moment. Share the episode, hit follow, and join us every Thursday for prayer and activation. For more tools to rise into your God-given mission, visit rayireland.com. See you next week.